This, my friends, is the Motorola Razr Fold. It's been heralded as the foldable to end all foldables, in the US anyway, so no pressure then, especially for a first-time effort from a company already an expert with foldables of a different sort. I, for one, am excited that Motorola made this and blessed this book-style foldable with some of the better hardware and software in the business. But is that really good enough in 2026? After spending 2 weeks with this, I'm ready to draw some conclusions. Perhaps the biggest elephant in the room is why Motorola slapped a close to flagship processor in a very flagship device like the Fold, therefore somewhat reducing the value proposition for it. And I'm not going to claim that I have the pulse on the economics and business strategy behind this decision, but I can think of 3 possible reasons. Firstly, and this is a fact, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 5, which this phone has, while not the elite, is no slouch. It's as modern and future-proof of a chipset as they come. It guns through practically everything you throw at it with neither fuss nor throttling, unless of course, you're a heavy graphics gamer and only then you might run into limitations. But my point is, in the mind of Motorola, rather than have ultimate horsepower that most users won't ever tap into anyway, why not use a chip that's powerful, AI-friendly, and known to run cool and be gentle on the battery? Secondly, and simply, Motorola probably stockpiled a buttload of these Gen 5s and needed somewhere to put it. Thirdly, and I believe many of you are already thinking this, the global memory price crisis, because with elevated prices that began in earnest late last year and expected to continue well into next year, brands have had to raise prices and or hold back on expensive hardware advancement. But don't be mistaken, aside from the non-elite processor, the rest of the Fold is amazing. Both displays, for example, are a joy to look at and use. Both reach brightness that are perfect for days at the beach or just enjoying the first actual sunny days here in Maine. The inner crease is there, but not as obvious as the Fold 7, Pixel Fold, or OnePlus Open. Only something like the Oppo Find N6 has it beat in this area. The hinge snaps open and close with mature authority, and I'm comforted by the fact that the phone has some of the best protection where it counts. There's IP49 dust water resistance, and this is the first phone on sale to sport the top-of-the-line Gorilla Glass Ceramic 3 for the cover display. You've probably heard about the battery as well, and for once, there's parity in the factory claims versus real-world numbers. And I'll tell you this, guys, it's so refreshing not to have to say a few prayers throughout the day and have a charger close by like I did with the OnePlus Open, even when it was fresh out of launch day. In contrast, the Razr Fold has had a few years of tech advancements to tap into, and again, Motorola has done us a solid. Between the power-sipping processor, substantial 6000 mAh silicone carbon battery, and 68-watt fast charging, this thing is an endurance beast. And it's not unusual for me to have more than a day and a half of endurance with this thing, with about 10 to 12% to spare at the end of that. A couple of personal niggles: the volume and power / fingerprint sensor are half a centimeter too high, and worst of all, when the phone is closed, the Moto AI button gets smushed right up there, and I'm not a fan of that. And also, for a 2026 flagship, it would have been better to have Qi 2 support, which this doesn't. With Samsung nixing S Pen support, it is Motorola that has surprisingly taken up the mantle with the Pen Ultra. Now, I was initially disappointed to see that the stylus doesn't have its own silo within the phone until I remembered that the pen is quite a bit thicker than the 4.6mm thick phone. But what that means though is if you want the pen close at hand, you need to tote the pen in the vape-shaped holder. The case has the same fabric outer lining as the woven surface on the black and blue model for what it's worth, and it charges via USB-C at the bottom. Where the Pen Ultra gains brownie points is what S Pen users have lost in their current folds. For example, 4096 pressure sensitivity, tilt detection, 5.2 milliseconds of latency, a hover pointer, and app-specific shortcuts such as tap to snap a photo and double tapping the pen to take a screenshot. Tying it all together is Android 16 that's mostly stock Material 3 expressive. Here you get Motorola tweaks, but we're not talking about a full-on skin, which means the user experience is both light and mildly customizable. I still can't get enough of the good old Moto gestures that are still here, like chop chop to turn on the flashlight, or twist twist to launch the main camera, and twist twist again to activate the selfie. Traditionally, Motorola hasn't been too hot on long-term OS upgrades and security patches, and plenty of folks have rightfully been concerned that buying the Fold would mean being behind on these things compared to what Samsung and Google offer. That being said, if Motorola's marketing for the Fold is anything to be believed, and I sincerely hope so, users can expect up to 7 years of OS and security updates, which is absolutely game-changing for the brand. What's not clear is how frequent those updates are going to happen. If you're in a pinch and you need to get something done for work or school but you forgot your laptop, or because you prefer computing and working with mobile apps versus Windows equivalent, Motorola has something called Smart Connect Desktop Mode. And if you're thinking, wait a minute Aaron, this is like DeX, well, you'll be right. Now, I am going to go on a limb here by saying that Smart Connect might be better than DeX as a desktop replacement, at least during my time with it. And yes, let the hate mail begin, but the biggest win in my mind for Smart Connect is that you can connect and be productive outside of the Motorola ecosystem. Just download the Smart Connect app on any PC, Android phone or tablet, and you're good to go. There's also a hub where users can quickly switch between dedicated desktop, video chat, gaming, and TV streaming modes. Now, I did find very occasional mouse and system glitches, whereas DeX is more mature and stable. And speaking of gaming, I did find it odd that on a flagship like this, there isn't a game or performance mode on the Fold. You launch a game and there's no widget that lets you control power balance, audio notifications, things like that. For example, you're right in the middle of a boss fight on Diablo Immortal and suddenly you get non-stop notification pings from your text message thread. Or if you happen to leave a game idle long enough, the phone will go to sleep. What the heck? This being 2026, there's more AI thrown into the mix, of course. If Gemini wasn't already enough, there is Motorola's own Moto AI, which also relies heavily on Gemini and Imagen models. And on top of that, you'll find Perplexity pre-installed too, so I'm perplexed as to Motorola's strategy here. Perhaps rather than limiting you in one AI ecosystem, Motorola thought, why not give the user options, right? Now, in practice, Moto AI is a one-stop shop for your AI experiments, such as generating avatars or stickers, summarizing your notifications with Catch Me Up, and of course, search. And this is all bundled in one place rather than Google's equivalent services that are spread out over separate apps or UI screens. Now, even if UI as a tool is still a mixed bag, one area where Motorola has deployed it with surprisingly effective results is with the camera, which I'll talk about in a few.
Let's try the Razr Plus, right in the middle. So I'm going to go through some high-level specs. Obviously, I didn't have everything like memorized, and I shouldn't, because that's not how we roll here on this channel.
Not since the mid to late 2000s has Motorola moved the mobile photography needle, or even made a scratch for that matter. For more than 10 years, it wasn't even playing Chase the Leader, but more like chasing the mid-pack, for crying out loud. However, with the Edge Plus from 2 to 3 years ago, we started to see the company waking from its slumber and taking its cameras more seriously. Fast forward to today, the transformation is still ongoing, but my goodness, the results speak for themselves. Granted, the camera system, the same you'll find on the recently launched Signature, isn't a flagship slap phone killer by any means, but then again, it's a different story when compared among foldables sold stateside. The images you've been seeing throughout this video were mostly me just snapping away run and gun style, aside from some backlit and high contrast shots where the processing decides to blow out highlights. The main ultra-wide and telephoto sensors have been a lot of fun to shoot with. I wouldn't call final photos WYSIWYG, but colors are pleasing without crazy saturation, white balance is pretty much on point, aside from the aforementioned backlit high contrast issue. Noise starts to creep in low light situations, but the amount is not crippling or anything like that. Autofocus in general is fast and reliable, although it takes a tick or two before identifying people to activate face tracking. Now back to my prior mention about AI and how it relates to the camera. If you look at these following shots, for example, whatever AI voodoo magic Motorola has seasoned the digital zoom with, it's honestly quite impressive how much detail is recovered in most of the close-ups. In my time playing around with super zoom, I'd say 15 to 20% of the AI enhancements look bad, but for the rest, I still don't know how the algorithm does it. On the flip side, or should that be fold side, where the photos shine, video still unfortunately is Android's Achilles heel. Between the wonderful colors and details, there's still very slight banding when you're panning, random focus jitters, and also rough zoom transitions. Now I do appreciate the 240 frames per second at 1080p though. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Mic check, mic check. What does my voice sound like? Doing some quick panning. There is some jerkiness on the preview. Not sure if it'll show up on the final. It is nighttime video, checking to see lens flaring and also detail, as well as any kind of tearing, how much noise there is. You can probably see it right there in the tree. But the colors it's pulling out is really nice, quite impressive. Here comes a truck. All right, one thing I want to test is, let's go to 0.5. You can see the quality drops quite a bit, and back to just 1, it's not 0.1. And we have 2 times zoom, 3 times, and 6 times zoom. Out of the gate, Motorola comes out swinging with the Razr Fold, and for the most part, it's a home run. And sure, it might have taken a few years to get the ball rolling, but during that time, the company studied the competition and did its homework. And the result is a device that upsets every foldable officially sold here in America, albeit somewhat quietly, because here's the rub. The Razr Fold is a great phone, but the fact is, unless you're in the smartphone business or are a huge fan of Hello Moto, the sad thing is, most folks will never know it exists. Well, that was my take on the 2026 Motorola Razr Fold, and I'm sticking to it, dang it. And thank you guys for being here. You're hands down the best audience ever. And thanks to Motorola for playing. They did not have any input in this review. So if you'd like to see more unbiased content like this, please remember to subscribe, like, and reshare this channel with your friends. And in the meantime, remember to do something loving and kind for somebody in this world, because guess what? The world needs it more than ever. And it starts with you. I love you guys very much. Peace out and God bless.